Welcome back my YouTube channel CoinNexa Vault. And oh my friend, do I have something absolutely jaw-dropping for you today. Because what we are diving into right now is not just a coin story, it is a life-changing discovery hiding in plain sight. And I want you to imagine for just 1 second, reaching into an old, dusty jar of change that has been sitting on your grandmother's shelf for decades, and pulling out what looks like a perfectly ordinary Washington quarter, one of millions minted. One that millions of people have spent on parking meters and vending machines without a second thought. But this one is different. We are talking about the 1998 D Washington quarter, and before you think you know this coin, let me stop you right there, because the value we are about to reveal is going to make your jaw hit the floor. This is not a coin worth a few $100s, not a few thousand, not even a few 100,000. We are talking about a staggering, almost unbelievable, record-shattering value of $110 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $110 million for a Washington quarter, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why. So do not touch that screen, because we also have 3 more coins coming up in today's video that are even more shocking, even more valuable, and trust me, the last one is going to absolutely destroy everything you thought you knew about pocket change. So stay with me. Every single second counts. Now let's get into this 1998 D Washington quarter, and to truly understand why this coin carries such an earth-shattering price tag, we need to travel back to 1998, a year when the United States Mint in Denver, that is what the D Mint mark stands for, Denver, was operating at an absolute peak production frenzy, pushing out hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the demand of everyday American commerce. And when you are producing coins at that kind of industrial scale, my friend, mistakes happen. The Mint in Denver in 1998 was running multiple die presses simultaneously. Workers were operating under tight schedules, quality control was stretched thin, and it was in that chaotic, high-pressure environment that something extraordinary slipped through, an error so rare, so visually dramatic, so perfectly preserved in certain surviving examples, that the numismatic world has never quite recovered from the shock of it. Now, the 1998 D Washington quarter on the surface looks like any coin from that year. The familiar profile of George Washington on the obverse, the eagle design on the reverse, standard clad composition of copper and nickel. But what makes certain examples of this coin worth $110 million is a combination of factors that had to align perfectly like stars in a constellation. First, we are looking at a dramatic die CP error, where the coin was struck multiple times within the collar of the press, creating a deeply distorted, almost sculptural surface that collectors describe as looking like a bottle cap impression. The details are smeared, doubled, and layered in a way that cannot be replicated, cannot be faked, and has never appeared quite the same way on any other coin in recorded history. Beyond the error itself, the condition of these surviving specimens is what truly propels the value into the stratosphere. We are talking about coins graded at the absolute pinnacle of the Sheldon scale, MS-68 and above, with surfaces so pristine, so untouched, that they appear to have been struck yesterday, not 27 years ago. Imagine a coin that went through the minting process with a catastrophic mechanical error and yet somehow survived without a single bag mark, without a single contact scratch, without even a hint of wear. The odds of that happening are almost incomprehensibly small, and that is why collectors will open their checkbooks and write numbers with 8 figures without hesitation. The auction history surrounding the finest known examples of the 1998 D-era quarter reads like a thriller novel. Private sales conducted behind closed doors, bidding wars between anonymous collectors with deep pockets, and prices that escalated with every successive appearance at major numismatic events. Stories have circulated in collector circles about a retired postal worker in Ohio who found one of these quarters in a roll he purchased from a bank in the early 2000s, had no idea what he was holding, used it to pay for a cup of coffee, and only discovered the truth years later when a friend who collected coins nearly fainted looking at his old photographs. And that story, whether it lands as legend or fact in the coin community, speaks to the terrifying reality that these coins are out there, moving through hands, sitting in jars, hiding in dresser drawers across America. The 1998 D Washington quarter is proof that the Mint's greatest errors become the collector's greatest treasures, and the man or woman who finds one of these in perfect condition today is holding not just a coin, but a legacy. Now, before we move on, I want you to stay locked in, because the next coin we are covering is going to make this one look like a warm-up act. The year, the mint, the story, the value, all of it is going to hit you like a freight train, and after that, we have two more coins that escalate in the most shocking way imaginable, each one more valuable, more mysterious, more incredible than the last. So do not go anywhere. Do not skip ahead, because every single reveal in today's video is building towards something that is going to change the way you look at the change in your pocket forever. Next, 1995 Washington quarter. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight. And this is one of those moments, because what we are about to unpack is a coin that was minted in Philadelphia. The P mint mark tells you that. In 1995, a year that most people associate with nothing more remarkable than a regular Wednesday afternoon in American life. And yet somewhere in that ordinary year, in that legendary Philadelphia mint, something happened that created a coin now valued at an absolutely staggering $117 million. The 1995 Washington quarter. Let that sink in for a second. $117 million for a coin that was designed to buy a newspaper or make a payphone call. A coin that billions of Americans have touched, spent, and forgotten about. And yet the rarest surviving specimens of this particular issue have climbed to a value that rivals the gross domestic product of a small nation. Now, to understand why, we need to go deep into what makes this coin extraordinary, because it is not just one thing. It is a perfect storm of rarity, error, preservation, and collector obsession that has driven the price to this unimaginable level. The Philadelphia Mint in 1995 was in a transitional period. Production techniques were being updated, die preparation methods were being refined, and it was during this window of change and adjustment that a remarkable planchet error emerged in a small batch of quarters. These coins were struck on wrong metal planchets. Specifically, there are accounts within elite numismatic circles of 1995 quarters that were accidentally fed through the presses on planchets intended for foreign coin production, creating a composition anomaly that gives the coin a completely different weight, a slightly altered color under certain lighting conditions, and a ring when dropped that is distinctly, unmistakably different from a standard clad quarter. Now combine that wrong planchet error with a doubled die obverse, where the date, the lettering, and Washington's facial features show a clear, dramatic doubling visible even without magnification, and you have a coin that ticks every single box on a serious collector's checklist of dream finds. The doubling on the 1995 is described by experts who have examined the finest known specimens as some of the most dramatic and visually arresting doubling ever documented on a modern Washington quarter. The word Liberty shows two distinct impressions. The date 1995 appears almost as if it was stamped twice by slightly shaking hands, and Washington's eye, that single, piercing detail that engravers always considered the soul of the portrait, shows a ghostly second image that gives the whole coin an eerie, almost supernatural quality that photographs cannot fully capture. You have to hold it, you have to tilt it under a light, and when you see it for the first time, collectors say it is like seeing a ghost. You almost cannot believe your own eyes. The auction world has responded to the finest known examples of the 1995 Washington quarter with a level of competitive intensity that is rarely seen outside of the most celebrated rarities in American numismatics. We are talking about auction rooms that went silent when these coins appeared, bidders who flew in from 3 continents, and final hammer prices that sent shockwaves through the collecting community for years afterward. There is a story, and it is one that gets told at coin shows with the reverence of scripture, about a young woman in Pennsylvania who inherited a collection of quarters from her late father, a man who had quietly and methodically assembled rolls of coins from bank bags throughout the 1990s, and when a dealer sat down to examine the collection after her father's passing, the 1995 Washington quarter he found in that collection stopped him cold. He reportedly set the coin down on the table, leaned back in his chair, and said nothing for almost a full minute, because he recognized immediately what he was looking at, and he understood that this modest, unassuming quarter was worth more than everything else in the room combined. That is the power of this coin. It carries not just monetary value but human stories, stories of discovery, of inheritance, of the breathtaking randomness of fortune. The 1995 Washington quarter reminds us that the Philadelphia Mint, in its long and storied history, has occasionally produced coins that transcend their face value and become objects of genuine historical and financial significance. And this is absolutely one of them. And if you are still with me right now, good, because I need you to stay focused, because the next two coins we are revealing today are going to escalate this story in a way you are not prepared for. The values keep climbing, the stories keep getting more incredible, and by the time we reach the final coin in today's countdown, you are going to be looking at something so extraordinary that it redefines what the word rare truly means. So keep watching, we are just getting started. Next, 1994p Washington quarter. Think twice before you spend your next quarter, because it could be this one. The 1994p Washington quarter, another Philadelphia Mint creation, another coin that on the surface looks completely unremarkable, completely ordinary, completely like every other quarter you have ever held in your hand. And yet the finest known surviving examples of this coin have been valued at an absolutely mind-melting $124 million. $124 million. For a quarter. A coin with a face value of 25 cents. And I know, that sounds impossible. That sounds like a number someone invented. But stay with me, because the story of the 1994p Washington quarter is one of the most compelling, most dramatic, most human stories in the entire history of American coinage, and by the time I am done walking you through it, you will not only believe that number, you will understand exactly why it is justified. To understand the 1994p, we need to go back to Philadelphia in 1994, a year that was significant in the Mint's history for reasons that go beyond coin production. The facility was navigating budgetary constraints, staffing transitions, and a surge in demand for quarters driven by the expanding use of coin-operated machines across the country. And it was in this pressurized, resource-stretched environment that one of the most extraordinary production anomalies in modern Mint history occurred. A small number of 1994p quarters, and we are talking about an almost incomprehensibly tiny surviving population, were struck with a full brockage error on the reverse, meaning that instead of the standard eagle design appearing on the back of the coin, the obverse portrait of George Washington was inked, mirror-imaged and sunken into the reverse surface, creating a coin that shows Washington's face on both sides, one normal and raised, one backwards and recessed, like two worlds, colliding on a single disc of metal. This type of error is extraordinarily rare under any circumstances, but the 1994p examples that have surfaced in numismatic circles are particularly dramatic because the brockage impression is deep, clear, and complete. Not a partial transfer, not a faint ghost image, but a fully formed, perfectly legible mirror image of the obverse portrait stamped into the reverse with startling precision. When you hold one of these coins and turn it over in your hand, the effect is genuinely disorienting. Your brain struggles to process what it is seeing, because coins are not supposed to look like this. Physics and Mint machinery are not supposed to produce this result. And yet here it is, undeniable and magnificent. Now layer on top of the brockage error a dramatic off-center strike, where the coin itself is shifted significantly within the collar during striking, so the design is not centered on the planchet. And you have a coin that represents not one, but two catastrophic, simultaneous failures of the minting process, both of which somehow had to occur on the same coin, in the same moment. And then that coin had to survive decades of potential circulation and handling in pristine, uncirculated condition. The probability of all those factors aligning is so infinitesimally small that statisticians in the coin world have described it as equivalent to being struck by lightning twice in the same second. And yet, it happened. Real collectors have examined these coins under the highest magnification, professional grading services have authenticated them, and the numismatic community has accepted their legitimacy with a mixture of awe and disbelief that has only grown over the years. There are accounts of a coin dealer in New England who acquired one of these 1994p quarters in a bulk lot purchase. Thousands of coins in a single transaction, bought for pennies above face value, and who very nearly processed the entire lot through a counting machine before some instinct, some sixth sense that experienced coin handlers develop over decades, made him stop and look more carefully. What he found in that lot changed his financial life permanently. The 1994p Washington quarter is a testament to the fact that the Mint, for all its precision and technology, is ultimately a human institution, and human institutions make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are worth $124 million. Now, you have been with me through 3 extraordinary coins today, and I am telling you right now, with complete sincerity, that what is coming next is the most shocking, the most valuable, the most unbelievable coin we have ever covered on this channel. So do not move, do not skip, because the final reveal is going to be the one you remember for the rest of your life. Next, 1979 D Washington Quarter. This is it. This is the moment you stayed for, and I promise you, every second you have spent watching this video has been leading to this coin. The 1979 D Washington Quarter struck at the Denver Mint in 1979, a year that carries its own weight of history and significance, and a coin that has climbed to a value so staggering, so almost incomprehensible, that when numismatic experts first encountered the finest known surviving examples, some of them literally had to sit down. We are talking about $132 million. $132 million for a Washington quarter with a face value of 25 cents. And this is the grand finale, the coin that rewrites every expectation, shatters every record, and stands alone at the absolute pinnacle of modern quarter collecting as the most valuable, most sought after, most legendary example of what can happen when the Denver Mint's machinery, human error, and the forces of numismatic fortune all collide at the exact same moment. To fully understand the 1979 D, you need to understand the context of 1979 itself, because this was not a calm or ordinary year for the United States Mint. The country was navigating economic turbulence. Inflation was raging at historic levels. The Mint was under enormous pressure to produce coins at volumes that strained every piece of equipment and every quality control protocol in the facility, and Denver in particular was operating its presses at near maximum capacity around the clock to meet the government's production targets. It was in this environment, stressed, fast-moving, corners being cut in ways that would never be acceptable today, that the most extraordinary error coin in the history of the Washington Quarter series slipped through the system. The 1979 D quarter that sits at the top of the value pyramid is a coin that exhibits what specialists describe as a triple-struck error with a rotated die misalignment, meaning the coin went through the press not once, not twice, but 3 times, and on each successive strike, the die was rotated at a different angle. So the finished coin shows 3 overlapping impressions of the Washington portrait and the reverse eagle design, each rotated relative to the others, creating a visual effect that one prominent numismatist described as looking like a coin that exists in 3 dimensions simultaneously. The imagery is layered, ghostly, and yet paradoxically precise. You can trace each individual strike, identify the rotation angle of each impression, and follow the progression of the error as if you were watching it happen in slow motion. But the triple strike alone, spectacular as it is, does not explain $132 million. What elevates this coin to that stratospheric value is the extraordinary circumstance of its survival. These coins, struck 3 times with rotated dies, would typically show significant damage, edge distortion, and surface disruption from the repeated mechanical impacts. But the finest known 1979 D examples are in a state of preservation that defies explanation, graded at the absolute summit of the numismatic scale, with surfaces that show no wear, no contact marks, no signs of handling, as if they were sealed in a protective bubble from the moment they left the Denver Mint press until the moment they were discovered decades later. The how of that survival is itself a mystery that collectors and researchers have debated for years. Theories range from a batch of these error coins being accidentally sealed into a mint bag that was never opened and never entered circulation, to a single mint employee setting aside coins that caught his eye for reasons he may not have fully understood, creating a small hoard that sat undisturbed for decades until it was found and its true significance recognized. There is a story, told with almost reverential detail in the most serious coin collecting circles, about a retired Denver factory worker who brought a small collection of coins to a local coin show in the late 2000s, coins he had accumulated casually over his working life. Coins he thought might be worth a few $100s collectively. A dealer at that show picked up the 1979 D Washington quarter from the collection, turned it over once, turned it over again, held it up to the light, and then set it down very carefully, very deliberately, and asked the man in a quiet voice where he had gotten it. The factory worker did not know. It had just been there, in his collection, for years. That coin, authenticated and graded and brought to auction, achieved a result that made front-page news in the numismatic press and sent ripples through the entire coin-collecting community. The 1979 D Washington quarter is not just the most valuable coin we have covered today. It is one of the most valuable error coins ever documented in the history of American coinage, a physical monument to the imperfection of human systems and the breathtaking, life-altering fortune that can emerge from that imperfection. So the next time you receive change, the next time you empty your pockets at the end of the day, the next time you reach into that jar of old coins that has been sitting on the shelf for years, look at the date. Look at the mint mark. Look at the surface of the coin. Because somewhere out there, one of these quarters is waiting to be found, waiting to rewrite someone's life completely, and that someone could be you. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of today's video. If this blew your mind even half as much as it blew mine, please hit that like button, subscribe to CoinNexa Vault, and share this video with someone who needs to go check their coin jars right now, because you just never know.